Today, I'm joined by John Joe Walker from Metric Search, a company that's making serious waves in the recruitment world. In just 3.5 years, John Joe has climbed from general manager to CCO, helping drive Metric Search into one of the fastest growing agencies in the industry. Metric was founded in 2019 and has since expanded to 6 offices across the UK and US with nearly 100 people across the board. They've cracked the US market, secured private equity backing and are showing no signs of slowing down. I can't wait to dive into the secrets behind Metric's rapid rise and what this journey has meant for John Joe's career in recruitment. Let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Before we chat Metric Search, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got into Metric, how you got into recruitment.
Sure. So got into recruitment, I guess like a lot of people, it's the same old story that I half fell into it. So I was 22 at the time, looking for a job after university. My good friend at the time, Joe, who's now our CEO, got into recruitment first, which was very Joe at the time. And was very persistent in the fact that I would join him and get into recruitment. He probably saw something in me at the time that I didn't see in myself. Once I found out the sort of money that he was able to make, then I was all in and yeah, enjoyed it ever since. So did 5.5 years in Leeds with my former company, and then got the opportunity 3.5 years ago to team back up with Joe to relocate back to Nottingham, which is where me and Joe are both from originally, and to help launch Nottingham at the time, which was the 3rd office for Metric. So yeah, been an amazing journey ever since.
Yeah, so general manager, CCO, how did that happen?
Sure. So yeah, good question. I mean, I've always been incredibly driven, and I guess recruitment's the perfect industry for someone with my kind of mentality. And when I became general manager of the Nottingham office, again, there were 2 other offices at the time, New York, where we were founded, and London. We've since added another 3. I always wanted more from my career, and I kind of saw what recruitment had done for Joe and what he'd achieved, and thought there's a pathway there for me to make more of a global impact. So for me, it was about making Nottingham the best office in the business and the best office that I could. And
is it?
It has been, sure, yeah. And
yeah,
again,
Team Nottingham with you on that.
Absolutely. And again, there's a lot of people that's down to, but being able to lead that. So going from scratch, so just myself, we now have 35 people in Nottingham. Wow. I think we're on track to bring in $10 million worth of perm fees this year in Nottingham alone. Like that has been the blueprint really for my success, and that's now allowed me to become the CCO and looking to have an equal impact and a similar impact across all 6 offices, which means more travel and more exposure for me across the business, which is great.
So you touched on your mentality. Talk a little bit about that. What is that mentality that makes a good recruiter?
Sure. I think it's mindset, and it's never being satisfied. It is really how I define it. Again, recruitment is so relentless. It's so repeating. There's always something to be working towards. And what I sense kind of separates good recruiters from the very best recruiters is not getting too carried away when you're doing well, and finding that balance and always striving for more, because we've got a lot of, again, very top performers, and I've encountered a lot of top performers in recruitment over the years. It's them wanting more even when you're doing well, and always having that drive to seek out more and to want new challenges, and having that ambition, I think, is important, because recruitment itself as a job is kind of the same. Like, you're doing the same thing. You're trying to find jobs for people day in, day out, week in, week out. So it's always trying to personally push myself and strive for more and demand more. And then when you start to become a business owner and you start to realise where you can take this and the opportunity that you've got, it's too big an opportunity to not give it everything. So for me, it's all those fundamentals: work rate, long hours, being in the office, wanting to develop people, wanting to develop yourself, and never being satisfied.
So I imagine that's something you've tried to instill across the 100 heads across Metric.
Sure.
How do you find that drive in a recruiter when you're interviewing, and how do you encourage it in those that maybe don't have it kind of as instrumentally as you do? Sure.
No, and it's hard to find, I think, and it's difficult to interview for in a way, and that's something that we're continuing to develop on and improve on, is our ability to attract the right type of talent. For me, it's creating an environment that people can adapt to, really, and I think people can acclimatise to. And I've seen this time and time again, is was I always this driven when I was like a teenager or a kid or even in my early 20s? Probably not. But being in an inspiring environment around inspiring people where we are sort of outperforming the market and achieving incredible things, that's motivating. And I think our environment that we've created across all of our offices globally, you have that feeling of high performance and that's inspiring in itself.
Yeah, you don't get left behind, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. And I always say if you walk into a recruitment business and the top biller is doing 300K, that's the limit, right? And to do 300K is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, if you walk into an environment and your top biller is doing $1.2 million a year, that raises the bar again. And I've kind of seen that like you have to really set the standard as to what great looks like, and then the standards kind of rise. And not everyone is going to fit into that mold, of course not, and that's fine. And again, a high performance, high achieving atmosphere isn't for everyone, and you have to realise that. So you're not going to get it right every time. But yeah, generally that environment is everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I touched on in the intro, Metrics had pretty unprecedented growth, I think. Growth most recruitment agencies would, absolutely love to have. Is it that mentality that is the secret sauce, as it were, or is it a combination of things? Tell us a little bit what you think has made Metric that kind of high growth recruitment agency that it is.
Yeah. We get asked this all the time, as you'd imagine. It is a combination of things, of course it is, and there isn't that one specific thing, because if it was, then everyone would be doing it. But it's the melting pot of, we work in high potential growth markets. So the end markets that we recruit into are some of the most lucrative, active, sought after industries, and we've got that right. We can get into that probably later on, but we recruit in life sciences, in medtech, in engineering and infrastructure, where there's such demand for talent and such demand for our services. We're also US founded, so we founded the business in New York, which has given us a real springboard to recruit into the US market. We do 95% of our business in the US. The size and the scale of that US market is huge. So being able to tap into that essentially with our roots in the US gives us a real advantage, I think, over companies that haven't had that experience or that physical presence. And then I think it's creating what we refer to as the blueprint, which is the training plan, the L&D plan, because the vast majority of recruiters that join Metric join with no experience at all. And we create them from nothing. Again, our top biller last year billed $1.2 million in his first year in recruitment. So there's something to be said for the training plan that we've rolled out, and we're constantly developing people in the team. So you have your initial training course when you start out, which I've written alongside Joe, the CEO. But beyond that, we're doing ad hoc sessions with the best people in the business, right? So I will do a session with the whole company on how to effectively pitch and sell a retainer, right? The value of that consistently throughout the years has been huge, really.
Yeah.
We're constantly trying to upskill and develop people. So it's that, again, that blueprint that we refer to gives me real confidence that we can develop recruiters from nothing in any location in the world.
Yeah, that's, like I said, impressive, I think. 100 heads, good retention rates, I imagine, and those people that you've brought in as well. Yeah,
for sure. And retention is something that we value highly, and you have to, if you want to continue to scale, which we do. And I mean, so many recruitment companies don't get beyond 10 heads, and it is hard. It's difficult to scale. You've got to have the ambition and the drive and the courage, I think, to take risks at a time and to be impulsive in a way, but when you're trying to build out. But retention is huge, and it's something that we're placing more and more emphasis on as we build out and scale. You can't grow a recruitment business effectively without that. So to retain people in recruitment, you need to create an environment where people want to come in and want to work. We made the decision 3-4 years ago, in and around when I joined, that we're going to be office-based.
I was going to ask you that, very contentious question. Are you working from home? Are you 5 days in the office?
Yeah, no, 5 days in the office, and it was certainly contentious at the time. And I think had we listened to the noise in the industry off the back of COVID, we probably would have made a different decision. But that is an example of us trusting our gut instincts and ultimately knowing what's right for us as individuals, right? And it doesn't have to be right for everyone. And if you want to work from home, there's a trillion recruitment companies that will allow you to do that. But I think you need to be authentic as a leadership team, and me and Joe believed at the time that for you to be the best version of yourself, because again, we hire a lot of people with no recruitment experience. You need to create these high performance sort of focus, high performance culture officers everywhere in the world where people want to come in. Now, I hate the thought of, I don't know, someone dreading coming into the office. And if someone ever were to be dreading coming into the office, then we failed. So because we wanted people in the office, we had to create places that they want to come in and they want to learn from people. So it's important that I'm there, that Joe's there, that they're learning from the C-suite day in, day out and the leadership team, and that we're all enjoying being at work.
Yeah.
Because I've certainly had jobs over the years in whatever industry where you don't really want to be there, and then you're not the best version of yourself. So yes, in the office, but then a real onus on making that an amazing place to work.
So the US, obviously, as you said, 95% of the business is US focused. Again, I think there's not many recruitment agencies out there who aren't trying to break into the US or have thought about trying to break into the US.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've founded there, so it's slightly different,
Yeah.
but you still do a bit of work in the UK. What would be your advice for other recruiters that are looking to expand into the US? What's different? What is the kind of like I said, the advice you'd give if that was something that they were looking to do?
Yeah, I mean, for us, just commit to it. Commit to it 100%. I think we have a physical presence there, which is really important. Joe went and set the business up in New York because he wanted to tap into that US market. So being founded there has given us a real springboard to be able to grow there and do business there. I think it's probably difficult to commit to the US fully when you've never made the effort or made the investment financially to go out there. And Joe being there for 2.5 years was really important. I now spend significant time in New York, in Florida, in Texas.
It's worse places to be.
Exactly. Well, yeah, when I'm in Nottingham. So I think that is it. There's no shortcut to it. I think you have to really commit to it if you want to do it. But for us, the value of being in the US is enormous. And anything from the average salary to the size and scope of the market to how fast-paced it is with 2-week notice periods.
Yeah.
Had we tried to scale just doing Europe, who knows where we'd be. We certainly wouldn't have achieved what we've achieved in that time frame. The US market is still the biggest English-speaking economy in the world, still the fastest growing English-speaking economy in the world. So for us, it's paramount that we're there and that we continue to build and expand there as well. About to launch San Diego in the next few weeks, which is really exciting. And we do a lot of work in California. Well, let's get a West Coast presence then, and let's commit to it. And actually even making that decision, you need to have courage to do that, I think, because these are expensive places to scale a business. But for us, we wouldn't be authentic if we were talking about how US focused we are and everyone sat in the UK. We'd be missing a trick.
Yeah, from a recruitment perspective, you touched on it there in terms of salaries and I guess availability of talent. Is there anything else that is different that you have to navigate about recruiting in the US that was maybe a shock?
Yeah,
or
positive. So not necessarily a shock, but we've always been pleasantly surprised by how receptive the US clients are to working with us, to be honest. Certainly versus the UK, where there is far less skepticism around recruitment in the US. I think the US market, in the US, people in the US are generally used to working with a third party and working with a middleman to do anything within their life. So I think they don't challenge it or question it, or generally don't have too many negative connotations or misconceptions about recruitment. So we find that the whole process is way more seamless. It's faster paced for sure, and they're generally more direct, which luckily fits the way that we are. So an interview process in the US will generally wrap up for me within start to finish 3-4 weeks. Recruiting in the UK, recruiting in mainland Europe, you can times that by 3 sometimes. So it's far less bureaucratic in its nature from an interview process perspective. I mentioned earlier, but 2-week notice periods in the UK or Europe ranging from 1 to 3 months generally. So it moves quicker. The talent is moving around much quicker around us, and without being crass, but the salaries are significantly higher, which means the average fee size for Metric is significantly higher. I think our average fee size is now $33,000 average. Wow. Again, had we tried to scale just recruit in the UK market, it would be a fifth of that, I would imagine.
Last year, reached a private equity backing agreement.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that. How did it come about, and what impacts that had on the business? Yeah,
huge milestone for us, something we're all really proud of. It's not often that I sort of reflect, and I guess podcasts like this and conversations like this help to reflect on the success that we've had. We're very forward thinking as a leadership team, but something we're really proud of. We did a private equity minority deal with BGF, who are the most active investor in Europe. They have got a real proven track record of scaling companies of a similar size to ours across a range of different industries. A lot of companies actually that we recruit for are within their portfolio, which is an added benefit of partnering with them. It first came about probably 18 months ago, the interest, not only from BGF, but from a number of investment third parties.
So were you approached, or was it something you went out to look for?
We were initially approached by a different company, and it was actually eye-opening to us that this is possible. And then that really got our interest, and we started to learn more about it. And then we started to proactively have conversations with people and let them know. And we made the conscious decision that we want to do a PE deal. We were outperforming the market so much at the time that it was a real success story that wasn't heard of in recruitment, which for us was important to capitalize on the back of that momentum. I think off the back of COVID, a lot of recruitment companies did well, certainly in our life science bio market that we recruit in, and we did well, and it was great. But we knew that wouldn't last forever, so we upskilled everyone, and we really doubled down on our principles during that time, so that when 2022, 2023 came and all of the companies are going backwards, we continued to grow exponentially, actually, in what was considered to be a down market, where people are struggling and people are laying off staff and it's difficult. We really enjoyed big success that year, and I think that caught the attention of private equity and the attention of investment, that these guys are doing something different, and if they can do this in a challenging market, this could actually be something unique. So for us, it was great to get the deal done with BGF. They are great and adding value all the time. They've helped professionalize the business in a way, right?
Processes and things.
Absolutely. Processes, data is massive. Again, it's not what you've done, it's what you can prove that you've done that becomes important, and really eye-opening for me to be part of that world, to now be on the board, to have board meetings every other month. I love that. I love feeling like I'm growing and developing in different ways. We helped attract our non-exec chairman, Andy McRae, who comes with decades of experience scaling recruitment businesses, exiting recruitment businesses, an exceptional guy who's already adding huge value. So the whole experience has been amazing so far. We're continuing to grow, which obviously helps. Everyone's happy as it stands. So yeah, it's been great, and less than 0.1% of recruitment companies get to do a PE deal. So for us, it was, with our level of ambition, let's get some growth capital and let's really kick on, and let's see how far we can take this. So that growth capital has allowed us to launch San Diego, to launch Austin. We've launched 6 offices in 6 years. So with this backing now, this external investment, we can really take it to another level.
And what does the next 5 years look like for Metric?
Good question. Good question. We're really excited about San Diego. This is a big announcement for us. All of our offices are adding significant value. To be out on the West Coast, where a lot of our clients are, is going to be really big and exciting. So for me, this year, 2025, is the year of California, and it's setting up there. We've scaled 5 offices successfully so far, so we kind of know what we're doing. Now, it's going to come with challenges, of course, and time difference is big, 8 hours to the UK. But that, for this year, is something that I'm really excited about. I think throughout the next 5 years, we're going to continue within the investment journey. I want as many people at Metric to make money from having equity within the business as is feasibly possible. And we ultimately want to work to be the number 1 recruitment company within our Metric Bio and our Metric Geo sectors, which are our 2 end markets. And that is ambitious, and that, from where we started out 5 years ago, is out there. But again, we're of that way. I think that's the way we
big plans.
We operate. Exactly. There's a ton we can still do. There's a ton of growth left for the business. We want to double headcount in the next 3 years. We're going to be hiring at least 50 recruiters to work for us in 2025. We've now got a structure in place that allows us to do that. We've got a great management team, both in the US and in the UK, that are crying out to build their teams out in real high growth end markets. So I'm sure it won't be without challenge, but we're really excited about that next step.
And you touched on it there, that I think 4 or 5 years ago you were Metric Search. Now there's the 2 brands within that, Metric Bio and Metric Geo.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that decision. What kind of brought that decision about?
Yeah. So, like you say, we were always metric search, but we were recruiting essentially in two core markets, which were very different and are very different. So the bio side that we refer to, which is life science, medtech, digital health, biotech, that's the world that I'm from and that Joe, our CEO, is from, and we've recruited in that space for approaching a decade now. Then we had the other side of the business, which we refer to now as Metric Geo, which is engineering and infrastructure and renewables. Though recruiting into those two different sectors requires a different approach. Dealing with clients and candidates in these two different sectors, completely different. In one market, there's more of a candidate shortage, I would say, a more of a need for talent. In another, so in the bio sector, it's more challenging to get clients on. There are lots of candidates within the market that are available. So for us to really grow and to scale, we needed to start treating those two different industries like they are different industries. And when we hire, to hire cohorts into each sector and to do personalised training for each, because doing a one-size-fits-all just wasn't making sense. I think having those brand names also helps us ultimately build out credibility in those sectors and to build out a name that's recognisable within those sectors. So Metric Bio is now a known name within the biotech world, which we've worked really hard on. Metric, in a broad sense, wasn't. So it was about becoming real specialists. And again, the number one recruitment business in each sector is the goal. I don't think you can do that when it's one overarching company.
Yeah, that's really interesting, particularly from a marketing perspective, as you said, that you can push those different brands within those different markets.
Yep.
It's a conversation we often have a lot with recruitment agencies when they're a bit more generalist and maybe working in multiple verticals.
Yeah.
So how do you set yourself apart? And it's a message we push a lot,
Sure.
that sometimes you've got to make that break and have something that defines those markets.
Definitely.
It's obviously worked really well from you.
It has, yeah, definitely. And it was, I guess we had a decision to make as to whether to lose the metric and to spin out two brand new names. But what we'd built up with Metric to that point, 4 years in, you look at your LinkedIn following, we had done something special, I think, and the Metric name is known within recruitment. We didn't want to lose that. So me and Joe were in a room for hours, days even, trying to think of what do we call these two.
There's a pre-ChatGPT as well, otherwise now you'd be like, ChatGPT,
exactly
what should I call my business?
Exactly that. We would have got there quicker, for sure. But ultimately happy with Bio and Geo. They both sound alike. They're both broad enough to actually scale micro niches within. So like we recruit in real micro niches within Bio, like neurotech, like femtech. We didn't want to be too limiting with the title. I mean, this is an added thing, but like if you add the word bio or geo to the word metric, you get biometric and geometric.
Not thought about that.
There you go.
Very clever.
There you go. That was a happy accident.
Yeah. And I saw a marketing campaign recently, and obviously I'm slightly biased because we do a lot of marketing, but you were in Times Square. Sure. That was very cool. How did that come about?
Yeah, no, definitely. So we are founded, as I've mentioned, in New York, so in the financial district, not far away from Times Square in Manhattan. And we're so proud to be founded in New York. For us, you don't get too many recruitment companies founded in New York. It's quite a rare thing, and we're really proud. That's kind of our DNA, really. Our being physically positioned there has allowed us to recruit in the US. It's a big part of our success. So for me, we want to show off that we're in New York. We want to show off that we're in Manhattan and in the biggest and best city in the world. So from a marketing campaign perspective, we're always trying to attract talent to come and work for us. We want to show off our locations. There's no point as being in New York if we're not going to shout about it, really.
Where else to shout about
exactly.
it in New York?
Well, I was going to do a Market Square campaign in Nottingham, but it's not.
Brian Clough statue,
there you go.
yeah.
Not quite the same effect.
No.
So, and again, it's not like we just have a New York postcode or address and we're actually in a back street in New Jersey. Like, we do it properly. We're just off Wall Street. Our office in Fort Lauderdale in Florida is one of the most unbelievable locations in the world that I've ever been to. Again, San Diego, Austin, like, we do it properly and we make sure we're in the best place for people to want to come and work and live and spend their time. So yeah, it was that, and it's a bit of ego, I think, wanting to get like an ad campaign in Times Square, and was actually really affordable.
Oh, really?
Oh, like honestly, cheaper to do that than to do a similar thing in Nottingham, a billboard
That
campaign.
is
Honestly, yeah, yeah.
crazy.
There you go.
I just obviously take that idea for
So
some of our
there you
US
go.
based
Yeah,
clients.
yeah.
So as the story is incredible. One of the things I always like to ask guests on the podcast is, was there anything that went really wrong at any point? Like, what was the biggest failure that you learned something from? Was there anything that stood out, or has it actually been plain sailing for 6 years?
I can't say that there's been nothing, can I? Because I sound really arrogant.
Yeah.
And of course, there have been difficult moments, 10, 15 difficult moments in a week, every week, right? And when you're making the amount of decisions that we make, and for us, it's about committing to decisions quickly. Indecision is the worst thing for us. Naturally, you're going to make mistakes along the way. We've definitely made mistakes in hiring over the years. That has been a challenge, and is a challenge for most companies, let alone recruitment companies. I think in hindsight, I've probably tried to take on too much at times, personally, and as opposed to sticking to what I'm good at, which is probably more the sales commercial side of the business. But again, when I joined, we were 18 heads. We're now 100. At that time, it was a startup feel to the business, and it was all hands on deck. And I was managing everything really, because I wanted to, and I probably got in my own way in hindsight, and actually realizing that I don't know what I don't know, and I don't have that much experience in recruitment, and that actually investing in a service support function is going to really help us scale and get us to the next level. Me realizing that the hard way through me making bad hires based on my gut feeling, which again is
Oh, we've all been there.
exactly, and now you're again even more highlighted from the investment world, where it's about data and it's about processes and it's about making calculated decisions. It probably has exposed a few decisions that I've got wrong over time, which again I've just based on gut feeling. So for us, learning from that, it's investing in service support. It's not begrudging it, and it's thinking, no, we need a world-class L&D team. We need a world-class TA team, world-class HR, finance, marketing. And we've actually just hired our first ever COO, who started last week with us to oversee that entire world. Someone who's got a real track record, having scaled recruitment companies over the last 20 years and knows so much that I don't know. And for me, that's probably been a big learning, is me taking a step back and thinking, it's fine if you're not involved, just stick to the selling. So yeah, we'll see how long it lasts.
Well, like I said, it's a very incredible story.
Mm-hmm.
Wish all the best for the next 6 years as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 questions that we ask all guests on the podcast. One is, what are your 3 biggest learnings from your career?
Good question. And again, helpful here to reflect upon these things, because we're always thinking forward and thinking about what's next. For me, from a very sort of basic level, and this is advice that I give to a recruiter and that I give to all of my recruiters that work for Metric, is there's no substitute for volume. And I think that is so important, and I've noticed it become so important over time. Now, there are nuances and different ways to doing business development, which will continue to evolve as social media continues to evolve, as marketing continues to have a bigger impact in the recruitment world. But I've seen it too many times where people then miss the fundamentals. And for me, we have very basic expectations and basic rules in place that allow people to really be world-class at recruitment, and volume underpins all of that. So for our recruitment team now, if you're from a BD perspective, it's important that you send out at least 5 e-shots that we would refer to as per week, every week. And it can be very easy as you get busy and as you get distracted to not do that fundamental thing. But if you do if that fundamental output's there, then the next step, which is how many interviews you're arranging per month, will consistently be high. And if you do that, then your fees will we would like everyone to be doing 150k per quarter. It all starts with the output, really. So not losing sight of that would be my first tip, which is hard to stick to and hard to be consistent with. I would say my second tip would be not to put any limitations on yourself. I think when I started out in recruitment, there was a lot of connotations about good managers don't make good billers. You can't do both at the same time. You can't recruit the US from the UK market. It's too difficult. You can't crack it. There was a lot of you can't around, which I naively bought into, I think, for my first couple of years in recruitment. I think what we have experienced over the last 5, 6 years at Metric is don't put those limitations on yourself. that if you actually commit to it and you work incredibly hard, that you can scale a company to 100 people, that you can build out offices in the US that are highly profitable. So that is a mindset thing. And then my final point would be, and this is something that I would share with people, but also with myself, that this is more for me, so I don't forget, is that data is everything. Data is so important. This is more if you're trying to scale a company to 100 people and beyond, and that you want to enter that private equity world. Data is everything. And I look back on the way I was operating in my first 5 years, and it was so salesy and so commercial, but actually getting things locked on the system, being able to show and to prove the way that you've been able to impact your business is everything. And we're getting much better at that now. Again, we've hired a COO who's going to help with that, but being able to enter these investment conversations with very clear data to back up how good we think we are is everything. So those would be the three.
Yeah, good bits of advice, I'd say. And final question, if you're going to nominate anyone else to be on the podcast, who would it be?
Yeah, so I'll have my Metric bias on this one. And there are so many inspiring stories internally at Metric that it would be hard to pick just one, but I will try. I think we talk about our New York business all the time and about our blueprint all the time, and about the fact that we can convert recruiters from nothing into 700, 800, 900 grand billers. I would say that our associate director in New York, Lucas Shaw, would be a great guest. He joined us with no recruitment experience 4 years ago. His growth trajectory over those 4 years has been immense. He's also American, so he's a US leader and would have a different perspective on the growth of Metric. So yeah, I would say Lucas.
Great. I said we'll take Rise to Prominence to New York.
There you
I'm
go.
a big fan of that idea. But
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's
All good.
been great to listen to everything you've had to say about Metric Search, and wish you all the best for the next 5 years and beyond.
Brilliant. Appreciate
Thanks, John
it.
Joe.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Amber.
Bye.